What is going on, guys? NandoPrince93 here with another epic review of the iPad Pro 12.9-inch first gen. So this guy was released back in November of 2015, and I wanted to make a tech review on this basically 4 years later and see how it's holding up, because this has been my go-to device for pretty much everything, right? Like, I bring this to work with me, it handles pretty much, my workflow stays pretty much the same with this as opposed to my MacBook Pro. And I just want you guys to see that I can, do my emails, go through Word, browse the internet, watch Netflix, watch Hulu, but also do more professional tasks like use LumaFusion to record this video. And I'll show you guys, I'm right now recording 60 frames per second at 1080p, so I'm not asking it to render 4K footage or 8K or RAW footage, but still, it gets the job done. So let's just run through the specs real quick. So this is the 128 gig version with with data. So I use T-Mobile. It's not really in right now. I kind of shut that off, but for right now I just use Wi-Fi, but it does have that capability. So again, it came out in 2015, late 2015. They discontinued it in 2017. This has 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. So just as a comparison, the iPhone 10 has 3 gigs of RAM. So it still has more RAM than, your cell phone. Also, it's running the Apple A9X chip, which back then was revolutionary. And to this day, like, I'll show you guys comparisons. Yeah, on Geekbench, it's not gonna compare to what the new iPad Pro is, but again, it's been a 4-year gap. And again, you're just running iOS, right? There's no professional Mac OS. You're not running High Sierra or Mojave. It's strictly iOS, so you don't need that much power to run this guy. It still has Touch ID, there's no Face ID. It uses Lightning, not USB-C. So and then the two big differences, I guess you would say, are in the screen. Although the PPI is still exactly the same, you still get 264 PPI on the first gen iPad Pro, which is the same that's on the new $1,000 iPad Pro. But you don't get the ProMotion, and you don't have the 120 Hertz refresh rate on the display. So there is a little bit of a dip that you can kind of see. So there's no like laminate there on the screen, so it's not as fluid. But I mean, you literally can't tell the difference unless they're side by side. So this is just kind of like a rundown of the specs that it has, right? So now let's get to actually using this thing and if it's worth, getting one of these instead of spending at least $1,000 on an iPad, on the new iPad Pro. So again, guys, I just kind of want to show you kind of the run through of what I use it every day for. So first things first, bring this back. I have a little, as you can see, a little slit here. So that's one thing. You don't have that magnetic casing or the magnetic implementation of the new pen. So you do have to keep track of this thing, and well, this is a debrand skin on it, and this thing kind of pops off. So yeah, the charging mechanism for this Apple Pencil was one of the weirdest ones I've ever seen Apple do, and I'm kind of glad they got rid of it, but I mean, this still works perfectly well. I take notes on OneNote all the time for this during work. I use my pen to also for LumaFusion and Lightroom, which is what I use for picture and video editing, right? Which I'll show you guys in a second. So everything with this iPad kind of works the same as the new one, right? You still have all the split screen implementation stuff. You still can video edit, you still can picture edit, you still can surf the web. Like, I use my Chrome, I got my email down here. You can, like, iOS 12 still works exactly the same. Like, I've played with the new iPad and I don't see any real differences, right? So I'll show you guys. So I have my Lightroom here that I always do my video editing for the Instagram food account, which I've showed you guys before, which I kind of talked about in my How to Grow Your Instagram series, right? Then I have LumaFusion here, which I've done about 3 videos, and I'll also 100% edit this video on LumaFusion. And it's amazing, the rendering, right? Like, this is live render, like, this has not been rendered. This is live. You guys can see exactly what's going on. And it handles it perfectly, which is unreal for a device that's 4 years old, basically. And again, it's gonna be a lot cheaper than buying a brand new iPad. So here's a split screen, it works the same way, right? Bring up YouTube, it all works perfectly. There is no hiccups, which is amazing. That's why I love iOS. Now, with iOS 13 that's coming out, it's supposed to be a big upgrade for you being able to use your iPad as more of a daily computer, as a laptop replacement. So we're gonna have to see if this A9X chip can handle whatever iOS 13 brings. But for right now, it's all pretty much the same. Even the gestures, guys. The gestures came on to the old iPad from the new one. So it's swipe up to go back to the home screen, swipe up to get multitasking. Same thing, like I said, to multitask. It all pretty much works exactly the same, right? You bring this up, split screen, and you're there, you're multitasking, which is amazing, right? I'm using the OG iPad keyboard. I got the OG iPad pencil, right? All debranded out. So now let's look at the pricing, see exactly what you get, and you can compare, like you can make the justified decision. You can get one of these used, you can get one of these refurbished. That works perfectly well like this. My dad actually used this for about 2 years, and then he kind of just gave it to me. Again, so this thing has been in use for over 3.5 years and it still works perfectly. 128 gig model, Wi-Fi and cellular, 4 gigs of RAM, iOS 13, running super smoothly. So I just wanted to show you guys the Geekbench score, right? So you have 3,083 on single core, 5,260 on the multi-core. Again, it's gonna be a lot less than the new iPad, right? And I would hope so, especially if you're spending 1,000 upwards for the new model, right? But again, everything that I've done on this, I've not seen a hiccup yet. There's been nothing, right? Multitasking is fluid. I'm running multiple apps at the same time. Multitasking is amazing. So there has been no hiccups. Exporting, so I exported a video from LumaFusion. Which was about 6 minutes, again, in 1080p, 60 FPS, and it took around 5 minutes. It literally did not take that long. Could I try doing a 4K video? Maybe. Do I want to? Not really, because again, still there's a big percentage of people that don't have 4K monitors, so there's no point in me doing that yet. But again, I mean, the videos aren't super intensive. You can see there's a couple overlays, there's music in the background, cutting. I did add a LUTs to it, and again, super smooth, and that's what I love about it. Now let's talk about pricing. Like, how much can you actually find one of these for nowadays? So I just did a quick search on eBay. You can get one for $600 with a pencil and the keyboard. Look, there's one right there for $394. There's one there for $394, which is just the iPad, nice condition with somebody with great ratings. So if you want to get a fully loaded iPad Pro with all the accessories, you're really not spending more than $500-600, guys, especially for one that's been very lightly used. Now let's see how battery has performed over 3.5 years. Because again, battery isn't going to be the same as getting a brand new one, right? A good thing is that you can actually see exactly how the battery handles up. So I'll be honest, I keep this thing plugged in for a huge portion of the day because it's just, I'm at my office, it's at my desk, like why not keep it plugged in? And it's not the greatest when it comes to battery, I've noticed, but it'll last you about 6-7 hours, even 3.5 years later, right? Last 10 days, you can see kind of the statistics. So I mean, for me, it works perfectly. There hasn't been a point yet where I'm like, oh my goodness, my iPad's about to die and I need to go charge it. Again, it still uses Lightning, which is kind of annoying, but everything's moving to USB-C. But again, everybody still has a Lightning cable somewhere, so you can literally just use your iPhone cable. So just to recap, guys, this iPad has worked wonderfully for me. I was really debating getting the new iPad Pro before I had this one, and I couldn't justify spending 1,000 plus 200 for the keyboard plus 130 for the pen, and that's just with 64 gigs, right? With still no external hard drive support. So this iPad, hand-me-down, which was amazing. This keyboard I bought on eBay for $70. This guy bought on eBay for $50. Put a dbrand skin on it, which was $10. If you guys can see, dbrand skin on this too, on the back, which I felt like I needed, which I really, really like, this honeycomb style. And I kind of just added my own personality to it, and I really, really like this. A9X chip, 128 gigs, 4 gigs of RAM, and the list just kind of continues. Everything works perfectly. I really, really enjoy this device. I would highly recommend it to anybody who wants to kind of get into the iPad world, and the iPad Pro world at least, and doesn't want to, ante up $1,500 for a new one. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful device. This thing is a little heavier, a little chunkier, but again, it's gonna be in your backpack, you know what I mean? Unless you want to get the 11-inch one or the 10.5-inch one. If you want a 12.9-inch, this is the way to go. Especially if you want to save the money, spend 33% of the actual retail price of the new one, and it still works perfectly. Now again, if iOS 13 comes out and it changes everything and it requires a lot more power, then we'll revisit that when it comes out. But for now, this is a great option. Highly recommend it. Comment below what else you guys want to see. And leave a thumbs up, subscribe. Thanks so much. Peace.